Hi folks, it's John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru, and I have just finished a very long day of home health. So I wanted to talk briefly about an idea I had, and you can let me know by thumbs up or thumbs down whether you think it's a good idea or not. So just the other day, or a few days ago, I posted a video about how I don't believe that a doctorate of physical therapy is really a necessary program to become licensed as a physical therapist, and I don't believe that it's necessary to extend a PT assistant beyond an associate's degree. And I know this same discussion is going on in OT circles, and I've seen recently speech therapists posting about the push towards a doctorate in speech as an entry level for the profession. And I've been thinking about how can we as clinicians pressure the organizations that are pushing for this doctorate to reconsider their position. And the thing that I came up with was perhaps we should consider a boycott of the APTA and AOTA. And I want to talk briefly about ASHA in just a little bit. So APTA and AOTA, why would we boycott them? Because they're good organizations and we've benefited greatly from them. For one thing, for APTA and AOTA, they've been at the forefront of fighting for the rights of an assistant to be recognized as treating therapists of the same value as PTs and OTRs. The reason I say that is because they've helped win the fight against Medicare's decision to try to reduce payment for Part B by 15%. And that was going to go into effect in 2022, if I've got the year right. But that is now no longer on the table. Medicare has rescinded that, at least for the time being. And that was because of partly the APTA and AOTA's efforts, so kudos to them. The other thing, of course, is that they have really tried to advocate in a lot of good ways regarding the role of a therapist, even with changes in PDPM and upcoming PDGM. So kudos to them. Here's the concern I have, and that is the APTA and AOTA are both the organizations that help control all of the curriculum that and all the regulations related to the schooling necessary to become a therapist. So we have, first of all, we have CAPTA, which I think I've got this right off the top of my head, is the Commission for Accreditation in Physical Therapy Education. And then we have ACOT or ACOTI. I don't know how people might pronounce that, but that is the Accreditation and Certification in Occupational Therapy Education. I might have that a little bit wrong on what the letters stand for. But those are the two organizations that oversee all of the education requirements for PTs and OTs, both therapists and assistant programs. And these organizations have been at the forefront of the pushing for advanced degree programs for PTs, PTAs, OTs, and CODAs. And the concern I have with them is really, in part, they have a monopoly. They have a monopoly to make sure that all programs are in compliance with what they feel should be the pushes. Now, they act on behalf of APTA and AOTA. So, for example, when APTA had Vision 2020, in which they were shooting for direct access for all doctors of physical therapy, that basically kicked off the push for doctorate of therapy programs, physical therapy programs. And of course, now you can't get a therapist license as a new grad, as a PT, unless you have that doctorate degree. And then there was, of course, a push with a pushback for PT assistants to get a bachelor's degree. And I've talked a little bit about in a previous video why that's a bad idea. I believe, at least. I was talking to a PTA today, and she kind of felt like a bachelor's was a good idea. And she had some good points, and I know there's some PTAs out there that might value that. But I think in general, it's a bad idea. I think we can streamline PT programs and PTA programs to make them very much focused on clinical, and to avoid the extra schooling. I don't see it as necessary. So anyway, why would we boycott APTA and AOTA? Well, funding for CAPTA and ACOTA, or ACOT, comes from those organizations in large part, but also it comes from the accreditation fees. So I was reading that CAPTA charges each program, I think it's the PT programs, $4,500 per year. That is the accreditation fee. So part of their funding comes from that, but of course they've got the backing of the APTA and AOTA. So how would the common therapist out in the workforce have a say in what CAPTA and ACOTA, or ACOT, does? And I think that really stems from membership. And so if there was a concerted effort to reduce membership in these organizations, they might take notice. Now, obviously, I don't want to harm these organizations, and so I think I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can get their perspective on it, and talk to them about it. So I might even try to do an interview with one of the board members. If you happen to know board members on either one of these organizations, would you put them in touch with me? I'd love to have an interview with them, and I would treat them nicely and with respect, because I do respect them, because I know they have strong opinions, and there's reasons that we've pushed for advanced degree programs, but I think that there's opportunity there. So the other thing I'd want to bring up, and I welcome commentary, is for ASHA. You can't get your C's unless you're an ASHA member, from what I can tell, what I've looked up online. So that's certification of clinical competence. I think I got that right. For those of you that don't know, so a speech therapist has to have their C's to practice. There might be some states, I don't know, that allow that, and speech therapists, please correct me if I'm wrong. But not sure how to apply some pressure to ASHA to make sure that doctorate in speech therapy does not become the requirement. Speech therapists already have to go for their master's, and I believe there's likely the ability to streamline some of these programs to still keep the master's programs without going to a doctorate and have more advanced clinical training. Anyway, just some of my thoughts. I'd love your thoughts. Don't just do the thumbs up or down. Give me some thoughts, because I'd love to hear from you. And then, like I said, if you happen to know anybody on CAPTA or ACOTA, please put them in touch with me. I'd love to talk with them and do a video with them, and post that to one of the Facebook platforms that hosts these discussions related to the push for these doctorate programs. Anyway, John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru, feeling extremely tired and getting ready to go home. Have a great night, and God bless.